Hey YouTubers, and we have a really big Dragon Ball discussion for you today. This is a really special video, so I'm going to take it real slow. First of all, I have TheFrozenParticle, Nathan. This guy is like one of the first guys I talked to on YouTube. He's been a big supporter of me. Nathan, will you say hello?
Hello guys, welcome back to yet another video.
Next we have Dimzy's Domain. This guy, I have never done a discussion with him. I'm really excited to do one right now. We've been talking for a lot. This guy knows way more about anime or anything else than I do, definitely. Dimzy, please say hello.
Hello guys, maybe I don't know as much as in terms of anime, but I love talking to Mark about anime in general. Thanks, I'm happy to be here.
And then finally, we have the amazing WindLightHub. He doesn't cover that much Dragon Ball content compared to us three, but he has really good stuff. He also covers a lot of game information. Wind, would you like to say hello?
Alright, what's up ladies and gentlemen, it's WindLightHub back with another video today, and today I am here with Real to Real. I am happy to be here.
Glad to have all of y'all here right now. So we're gonna have to start talking about this. So 2015 has been a really big year for Dragon Ball. Just to kind of put it into perspective, at the beginning of the year in February, Dragon Ball Xenoverse dropped and kind of reinvigorated the entire franchise and community of Dragon Ball itself. And then at around that same time, we were getting ready for Katsu no F to come out, Dragon Ball Z Kai ended, and then we got a brand new series in Dragon Ball Super, which has been airing for nearly 6 months now. In fact, at this point, we've seen 24 episodes, and now, because of that 6 months, because of those 24 episodes and everything around it, we have to ask ourselves, did Dragon Ball Super in 2015 waste our time? And before we get started with talking with that, we have to mention, beyond anything, is that we are actually not talking about us, the commentators. We're talking about the consumers of this show, the normal individuals who don't go online and make videos reviewing, talking about, discussing, leaking information or anything. The normal everyday people like you who's probably listening to this right now. Did it waste your time? Did it waste our time as those consumers? So we're gonna actually start with the hype of Dragon Ball Super back in, what was it, April, when it was first announced. And I've been talking for a long time, so I'm just gonna throw it over to Nathan.
Alrighty, I think the hype obviously got everyone excited, obviously hype. And I think during the beginning, during the first press release for Super, I think everyone had their minds go and everyone had something to say, and I don't think people, at the beginning at least, before we got some more info, I don't think people thought it was a retelling. They thought it was going to be, expanding on the Universe 6 stuff, and the 12 universes, because Battle of the Gods perfectly set that up. And I think when we got more information, I think people got less hyped and sort of more hyped, because when people found out it was a retelling, everyone was disappointed. People didn't know how it was going to do, people don't know how it was going to be executed. So I think the hype slowly sort of died down, but then got reinvigorated with the new sort of trailers, the 30-second preview or whatever. I think that really got people hyped because the new Champa villain came out, in that poster. So yeah, I think during those periods, I don't think Dragon Ball Super felt like a waste of time at all to discuss. So yeah.
So if I were to jump on this topic, I'm just gonna add on a few things where, in terms of the hype, I actually think it increased as time went on, because it was only around 1.5 to 2 weeks before the actual series aired where we knew nothing about the actual, in terms of how it's gonna look, and then that poster of Champa and his mysterious attendant, which also carried on the hype of this new character, because we only knew the name of the mysterious new character later on in the series. So I say the hype was justified and carried through only because of them two new characters. We knew it's going to be a retelling, but we were hoping, and I don't think many people cared that it's going to be vastly different in that sense early on, but it was mainly the prospect of them two characters. What about you, WindLightHub? What do you think about the hype?
Alright, so when they first announced it, I was obviously excited because we were getting new content. And when I found out that it was a retelling, like Nathan said, I was disappointed. And then that poster came out, and then it just excited me, and then I actually see the series, and then it's just kind of like, I technically had already seen everything before thanks to the movies, but it's like I still enjoyed that overall.
I have one thing to say about that hype, just going off of one thing that y'all had to say, or a couple things. when you're absolutely correct about like having seen the movies, we're definitely going to get to those things, especially. But just going off the hype, did the 30-second ad lie to us? Because we saw footage from Champa and Vados that is probably going to be on like what, episode 26, 27, 28?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, like that's very deceiving because they interconnected those scenes with scenes from the very first episode, as if we were going to get something completely different, and Champa is going to be introduced in the first episode or second episode or something, and now we're here 24 episodes later still waiting to see him. We've only seen him once. I was like, that was a hype machine. The first poster, the first trailer, oh my god, it's Champa, oh my god, like what are they talking about, what does this guy want? Everyone had their opinions, predictions and whatnot. We still haven't gotten to that scene yet. And was that lying to us? Did that overhype us on purpose?
I think it did. I think it was just a cheap marketing tool just to say, okay, there's new stuff in Dragon Ball Super.
To pull in views.
Yeah, like, I think, and Champa hasn't really been officially revealed in the anime, like, he's been teased, but we haven't seen, like, you know, episode 28 is the first official proper appearance of Champa, not like a teaser, and that's where the footage comes from, episode 28. Because the episode 28 title is God of Destruction Champa appears or something like that. So that's where he meets Beerus and Vados. So yeah, definitely it was a waste of time seeing that because, you know, obviously in Super, and it did deceive us. Yeah, I do agree, Mark. That's a really good point.
The thing is, I don't think it did deceive us because think of it like this. If they're going to give a 30-second trailer of mostly incorporating the Battle of Gods and the Resurrection of F Arc, we're gonna be like, what the hell are you showing us? You're just giving us a lower quality recap of the two movies we just watched. So in terms of deception, we were looking for something new and we got something new. Although maybe we didn't expect Champa to come, because I didn't expect Champa to make a appearance in the Battle of Gods arc, maybe right at the end, only speculating he's gonna come right at the end and spectate the fight between Goku and Beerus. And also the Dragon Ball Heroes card game had a scene, the only little scene about Champa being introduced, so the speculation was rife in that sense. But I'm completely fine with them including Champa's little argument with Beerus on Beerus's planet in that 30-second trailer. So I wouldn't call it a lie or a deception in that sense.
No, yeah, it's going to happen. We're not saying, you know, that was just completely, like, lied to, but, like, It didn't happen in the first episode. Yeah, anyway, Wind, what are your thoughts, man?
What I think is that I want to honestly say I think we kind of overhyped ourselves. Because I feel like, normally, like, when you see a trailer, you'll sit there and think, oh, that's cool and all that. But with this one, since we heard that it was retelling and all of that, and then we finally see this trailer and we see this guy, and we're like, what's his deal and all of that? It's like, we kind of did overhype ourselves, and in that case, I don't think they deceived us. I think they were just trying to, like, honestly show us, like, future events and all of that.
But I would point us all to the manga. He did show up in the manga. He was watching, or he was looking around in Universe 7 during the fight with Beerus, and I just feel like there's absolutely no reason why Super couldn't have just done that. Like, I feel as if, in terms of hype and what we got, in terms of just that poster and that first trailer and just how much speculation that went into that, I'm just gonna have to go ahead and say it wasn't worth it. It overhyped us on purpose. That was not incredibly nice in terms of Toei or anything, but not that it turned me off completely. I mean, obviously still watching Dragon Ball Super, but it's just one of those things where I wanted Champa at the beginning, and why couldn't we just see in that 30-second trailer clips from the first 2 episodes or so where, you know, Goten and Trunks are on an adventure, Vegeta's on a vacation with his family? Like, holy crap, what's gonna happen? That looks like stuff I really want to see. It's not necessarily fighting, it's not necessarily an antagonist, but that's like a perfect beginning to the beginning of the franchise as a whole, where we're just getting these small slice of life episodes that are very, very Dragon Ball and very, like, they just reintroduce us to all these characters that we love and that we've grown up with. I mean, I guess I'm going to take that and go into, we're going to actually start talking right now about the Battle of Gods arc. I'm going to throw it to Dimzy now.
So, about the Battle of Gods arc. Well, first I guess we have to talk about the amount of episodes. The official Battle of Gods arc was, if I'm correct, wasn't it 14 episodes or so? It was around 14 episodes. 4 of them episodes were very slice of life. They were padded out. It really didn't. They were reintroducing the characters. Now, for me, there was a few low points and a few high points of the Battle of Gods arc. For me, the low points is going to be episode 4, which is where they took padding to a whole new level, where they were focusing on the Pilaf gang, which I honestly thought. See, here's the thing, the Battle Gods arc as a whole, I think it could have been far more concise while still adding a lot to the storyline. And we're gonna have to speak about episode 5, and I'm sure someone can talk about episode 5 later, where the implications episode 5 had on the viewership, on the people who were watching it. It made a complete mockery of the series in terms of it opened a lot of people's eyes to animation where normally people wouldn't really give a crap. But a few things which I really enjoyed about the Battle of Gods arc in comparison to the movie, because that's what we're going to have to compare it to the movie, and then regard it as a whole in 2015, was it worth it, was episode 11 and 14 as well as episode 2. So the comedy was extremely rife, and the fighting scenes and the battle scenes, I think they were perfectly executed. I don't know about any other people, like their thoughts, but I really enjoyed them fights. They introduced new combat moves. The repercussions were introduced. We never saw a planet completely disintegrate such as that. We had an idea of the actual power levels that are involved with, where we never had it in the actual movie. But that's pretty much all I have to say about the Battle of Gods arc. Was it justified? I don't know. That's the thing. That's where I'm completely split. It's justified in terms of I like watching the scenes, the fighting scenes. They did add a few bits and bobs, but they missed opportunities where they could have truly added. So I guess I'll pass on to Mark. Actually, what are your thoughts on the Battle of Gods arc?
Okay, so I already mentioned my ideas about the first 2 episodes and those situations that these characters are being reintroduced to us, these people that we haven't seen, and we need to mention. I mean, since Dragon Ball GT, that's huge, right? We're all sitting around going, holy crap, and just seeing like Vegeta having matured after the Buu saga and just being more of a family man, going on a vacation with people, the Trunks and Goten adventure, Videl and Gohan getting married. It's so good to see these guys and be back with them, and then as it goes on, and I agree with you, the whole Pilaf thing, those guys have been the biggest waste in Dragon Ball thus far. There's been no reason other than just like, I think Toriyama, I honestly believe Toriyama just like likes them, so he's just going to include them. It's one of these things where I don't need to see these people, I don't really need to be in touch with these people anymore. They're like way past their prime. And I know Geekdom talked about this too in depth, and he just really hates it that they were given more character development and explanation of why they're children in the movie than they are in the series. They don't even mention that in the series, and it does play a problem, because one of the things we are talking about right now is, was it worth our time? Did it waste our time because we've already seen the movies? Does the show expect us to see the movie and kind of play both ends at the same time? This is a series, and we're supposed to be watching it as if we're watching a new show, a brand new story in front of us, and it's relying on information that we know from a movie, even though it wants to retell that entire movie. It just makes no sense to me. And then, just going forward, did the Battle of Gods arc waste my time in 2015? And honestly, even with all of that said, I have to say no. Because I do like the character development that we saw in the Slice of Life episodes. I really appreciated some of the biggest scenes that we've seen. That's one thing I really would like to ask Nathan right now. Like, what were some of the best things that were added? Like, did those additions actually change it forward?
I think most of the scenes that were changed in the Battle of Gods arc, as opposed to the movie, did not waste my time. I mean, I loved the Vegeta episode 2 moments. I you know how I'm a big fan of Vegeta. I loved that. So some of the stuff, and also the fight changes, and just the emotional weight to the fight, did add a level of respecting Super, and it did not waste my time. But for the most casual fan, I think, you know, it did honestly waste their time if they watched both the movies and Super, and now base level they're going to be like, oh, this is just Battle of Gods but with voice animation, and they're not going to really go in depth with it. I think that happens to a lot of people to a certain extent, because like us, we overanalyze like a lot of stuff, and I think we can point out the differences and stuff, but you know, base level, if you just watch the fight, it's just going to be like, oh, this is just Battle of Gods but change it a little, why would I even bother, this is a waste of my time. So I think to the casual fan it kind of is, but to the dude who like watches Dragon Ball Kai and then continues on with Super, I think it's all fresh and new to him. If he hasn't watched the movies, so I think it's not a waste of time to him. But to me, it's not a waste of time because I really like the satisfaction and the sort of the satisfaction you get from the new scenes, because they really great and really do add a lot to the arc itself.
So, with me, it was kind of mixed at first, because I did already explain my problem with the hype and all of that, but I think the highest point of this show, well, not the highest point of the show, but the highest point of the arc itself, and I'm pretty sure I think we can all agree on this, was probably the Beerus versus Goku fight. I love the way it was executed, and I could even say that it was better than how the movie executed it. And they did make some changes up, and like Nathan said, the casual fan wouldn't really care about it, but my friend, who is what I call a casual fan, I would say that he did enjoy Super. He's enjoying Super somewhat right now, so I'm happy for him. But anyways, what I'd have to use for a low point would have to be episode 5, definitely. And yes, I do understand that they are on a budget. The budget isn't as big as the movie, obviously, but I just wanted to cry watching that episode.
Yeah, I mean, I think casual fans need to realize that they are freelancers working on that stuff, and yeah, the animation sucked, and I'm not excusing them, but they are definitely freelancers. It's not a whole one studio, like an in-house studio working on it. It's a ton working on it, just different frames, and someone's art style might be different to another studio's art style, which again, I'm not excusing them, because episode 5's animation sucked and it's one of the low point of the series. That's a example of something that did waste my time, and many others. I think that episode didn't change a whole lot and was just just something to get through. It just feels like a padded out episode for the sake of being padded out, and it definitely did waste our time. And then the Goku vs. Beerus fight, for example, it changed a lot of things up and added emotional weight, because here's the thing, I always look at, Battle of Gods as a more cinematic version of a fight, but if you want the emotional weight, if you want the character interaction, go watch the Super version, and I'd say that to any fan. So yeah, Mark, what are your thoughts, man?
I mean, I completely agree with you about the fight. Just to mention a couple things about some of my favorite scenes about the Battle of Gods arc. I know a lot of people might have hated it. I was a huge fan of the ritual. Just padding that out, making that even like half an episode as it was, totally worth it. In terms of like the effectiveness and like the epicness of actually turning to a god, one of the things that we're going to mention a lot on this video is, if we didn't get the movies, would we like as a collective fan base be losing our shit over this stuff? And I think, me personally, and even after seeing the movie, I was losing my shit watching that ritual. It was just beautiful, and maybe one of the big things a lot of people talk about is how the Battle of Gods arc messed up Pan's pregnancy announcement. But with the beauty of her like holding hands with everyone and like, for whatever reason turning Super Saiyan, that was pretty cool. That for me made up for it. It was so great. I love that thing. And then also, which I still contest is my favorite thing in all of Dragon Ball Super thus far, is Beerus having Goku down on the ground saying, "I'm sleepy, I'm tired," or whatever. He's like, "I'm just tired," and that was mind blowing for me, because at that point it was so dark. Like, I think that's the darkest that Dragon Ball Super has ever been at this point, even up to this point. Episode 11, even now that the Frieza's back, like, Frieza can't be as dark as that one scene, and just how much character development that gave to Beerus, in terms of like, because up until then he'd just been kind of a joke character where he's like, "I'm super strong, but I'm just really witty and funny," and like, everyone loved him. But like, that to me says that Beerus is like way more about him than we actually know, and I'm really hoping that as we get into Dragon Ball, as we learn more about Champa and get more into Universe 6, that we're going to learn a lot about who Beerus is as a person, and his fears and his hopes and his dreams and all that stuff, and just really make him way more of a better character, because he is a super big fan favorite ever since he was ever since we all had our doubts about him, but when he came to fruition in the Battle of Gods movie, we all loved him, and I still love him, and that was my favorite scene in Dragon Ball Super. Oh, and I have to say this, although talking about the animation, of Dragon Ball, the 5th episode. The problem with that episode, to me, is because it was so bad, like Win was talking about, and you mentioned, Nathan, is because I think that was the awakening moment for a lot of Dragon Ball Super fans, because we were already really weary about having to watch all of Battle of Gods again, but that woke a lot of people up, and that made a lot of people mad, and now a lot of people even, like, we can't get it out of our minds. Whenever we see bad animation in Dragon Ball Super, it outweighs all the good. Dimzy, do you have anything to say on Battle of Gods before we move on?
So, as we're talking about wasting time, I guess we should segue to, was the amount of episodes of Battle of Gods, the arc, too much or too less? I'll just pose that question. For me, in terms of the content displayed over the course of 14 episodes, I think it was it was the perfect length of episodes, but it was padded out to such an extent, it should have been at least 10 episodes for me personally. So for me, it was a waste of time by the length of episodes and the number of episodes. What about you guys? Anyone can jump in.
Oh, okay. I think the number of episodes are pretty good. I thought the pacing was well done. The only thing I hated was the peel-off gang. It's just, they just completely slowed down the show for me. And that's it. But other than that, for me, I thought the arc itself wasn't a waste of time. I actually quite enjoyed that.
I think most of it is like, I think most of the hating of the arc is just the slow scenes with the peel-off gang, obviously, like you mentioned. Like, I hate how they shoehorned into. I hate it. It annoys me. But anyway, that's besides the point. I think there's a stigma going around that Super's just a direct retelling, and I think if you think more deeply about it, I think it adds more of a, emotional side to the arc, because Battle of Gods was pretty one-dimensional in terms of the fights, like punch, punch, punch. There's no impact, especially with episode 14. I think that's the best episode of the arc. I think, and just the emotion in that, like Goku said, "You might be a god, but don't underestimate my limits." I thought that was a perfect line, and I think that really added to the whole entire arc. So some stuff is, way better, and, didn't waste my time. Like, without Super, I wouldn't have those moments, and I think we need to really, come to that.
But the question is, was it worth 14 episodes? Would you keep it at 14 episodes, or would you increase it? Would you decrease it?
I would decrease the, episode. Like, I would decrease the number of episodes, because I think the episode 5 should have been just a 7-minute thing, like Battle of Gods and stuff. I think the peel-off gang should have been, sort of toned down a bit. And even some of the Beerus stuff, with Beerus blowing up the early planets, that's cool and all, I really like it, but, like, I think throughout the fight, that should explain more of Beerus' character, not the beginning of it, you know what I mean? So yeah, maybe down to maybe 12 or 10 episodes, maybe.
Definitely 12. I completely agree with 12 or 10 or something like that. The only thing, if you're gonna have the peel-off gang, you might as well just use them. You can't just ignore them like Super's doing. Being able to introduce, like, people, why didn't they just give us Champa and Vados? That would have, just adding those two would have made 14 episodes well worth it. Because it's okay, we got this fight going on, but, what are these mysterious characters doing over here? But as far as, and this will help us transition to the next one, I would rather have 14 episodes of Battle of Gods than almost anything in FNF Arc. And with that being said, we're gonna switch over to the FNF Arc. I'm gonna start it with Wind. Do you have anything to say about that?
Alright, so here's the thing. First off, I would like to say is that I'm not as caught up with the arc as Nathan and Dimzy are, but I kind of have the premise of it. I actually think that Fukkatsu no F is pretty funny at some points, but I'm not really interested in it. Like, the movie, I thought the movie was decent compared to Battle of Gods, but I think the point is that Fukkatsu no F it's not really able to hold my attention, because I was expecting to see Champa, Vados, and all of them, but I didn't get that.
Yeah. It seems like Toei is trying to shoehorn in changes that will lead to the same point. Like, they're trying to be like, oh, Tagoma, oh my god, really edgy, we're all changing it up and everything. But no, they're going to lead to the same part. Like, it's literally the same movie, it's just characters and concepts are, shoehorned in, and they don't really do anything with it, so that kinda, makes it bad for me. Also, something I like in Resurrection F Arc is that they catered to Toriyama's original Volume F script, which included like notes like Vegeta getting his battle armor and Goku getting his gi. And I think that was a really good scene and almost had to happen. You know, that stuff is pretty cool, but all in all, we didn't really need to know that in the movie, and it kind of did waste our time for now. We don't know if anything's going to change. I predict not throughout these last couple of fights here. So yeah, this one is a little worse than Battle of Gods in terms of changes and stuff, and I think this one could have been skipped over and we really wouldn't miss out on anything. But, you know, just to have a complete package they obviously needed.
So, my opinions on this is very skewed in terms of the first few transitional episodes. I really enjoy them. I think we didn't touch upon this, but I'll just quickly touch upon this and move it forward. Vegeta's character development from Battle of Gods, it carried on to Fukatsu no F, the Resurrection of F, where he's become more of a family man. And in the transitional episodes where he's looking and he's aiming to better himself, he wants to train with Beerus, he wants to train with Whis, and when Goku and Vegeta go to Beerus' planet, it was very, very enjoyable, them training. Any training montage is excellent in my opinion, but here's where it failed for me. It completely and utterly fell on its face, where they had the opportunity to completely build upon characters such as Gohan, Piccolo, Krillin, Tien, all these side characters. They had the absolutely golden opportunity to build them up, to flesh out Frieza's character, to flesh out Frieza's training, which I know some of you find a bit of a controversial topic, but they should have fleshed out these characters, these moments. And if, look, they're going to introduce Tagoma, and they did give him a little bit of a spotlight, but they had so much time to flesh it out, but they rushed it. It was so rushed. I can't remember exactly which episode, but during the transitional period until Frieza arrives on Earth, there was multiple time skips, and that really wasn't necessary. You could have at least said a few things and laid out a few details. They did foreshadow, Champa did appear during this time, but they could have done so much more in my opinion, and Resurrection of F was a complete slap on the face, and it was an insult to the fans in terms of, you are giving us a carbon copy pretty much. And as Nathan said, the temporary changes they implemented really had no impact in the story at all. Yeah, that's pretty much all I gotta say. What about you, Mark?
So I'm gonna start this with, I have to start this with saying I am a huge Goten fan. Obviously, if I was like, but the thing is I had my opinions when that episode you're talking about. I can't necessarily remember. I think it was episode 20. Where Jocko comes in and they have those two time skips. I could be completely wrong. I set out a video right there that I was really excited about my theory about why Goten and Trunks are actually not at the fight in Dragon Ball Super, is that they actually take like a spaceship and go to space and like might even run into Champa or Vados or something like that. Obviously completely wrong, and I'm not ashamed of that. But my thought process was, Super, especially at that point, and it's just been going on and on. This whole copy and pasting stuff is like, it's not worth my time. I've already seen this stuff. I don't really want to watch it again. The thing is, I was sitting there wishing and hoping that they were actually going to give Goten and Trunks something to do, and lo and behold, we actually got that. But my biggest problem with Fukatsu no F in Dragon Ball Super is they gave Goten and Trunks nothing to do. The only reason they are there that I have in my mind is because Toei and even maybe Akira Toriyama are playing fan service, and it's just a big FU to all of us fans, because all they're essentially telling us, in my opinion, is we knew you wanted them there, there was a lot of problems with us not putting in there, so we're going to put them in there, and they make absolutely no difference, to the point where it makes no sense when they show up, it makes no sense when they leave, because I haven't seen the subversion of episode 24 yet, but they do show them flying to Dende's. I don't know what they're saying, but the thing is when Goku tells them to leave for their safety, he tells them to go tell Dende what's happening, because he must have taken Piccolo to Dende's place, and Dende was like, what the hell is going on? But that makes no sense from everything that we've learned in Dragon Ball Super. That's a plot hole that makes me so mad, because every time we saw Kami or even Dende looking from the tower, they knew it was going on. Everyone knew it was going on from that tower. Everyone knows what's going on. There's no reason Dende doesn't know that Frieza's back. And just having them show up takes so much away from even what the movie gave us, even the little bit the movie gave us, because them showing up completely takes away Jocko ever even getting into the fight.
It seems like they are making sort of references and nods to previous things and creating fan service just for the sake of doing it, and I think that they're trying to put fan service, just additional stuff, just to pad out this arc and to just say, oh, this is different for the sake of, instead of just, fixing over plot holes. I think they're fan service over plot holes pretty much. So, yeah, that's my main issue with the Resurrection F. Hopefully there are some differences with the fight. I'm not holding my breath on it, but some stuff is nice, like in the Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan transformation with Goku, that his aura actually changes from like yellow to blue, which really makes sense. I really like that. So it's the Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan, so it's that makes sense. I like that. So some small changes like Goten and Trunks meeting Jocko are good, but they just don't elaborate or do anything with it, and that bugs me. That's the main issue.
If I were to quickly chime in about Goten and Trunks and the plot holes, why are they taking so long to even get to the lookout? These guys can fly at supersonic light speed. In addition, we have to remember the massive plot hole, which I'm sure everyone was annoyed about. Gotenks, we see this is the epitome of fan service. We see Gotenks appear, and then in after one move, he defused. It makes no sense that it would take 25 minutes to fly from point A to B anywhere on Earth at the speeds them lot are traveling at. And I guess talking about plot holes such as that, it's a nice segue. What did you guys think of the plot holes in Dragon Ball Super of the 2015 portion segment that we've seen so far?
It really... Some of them I don't mind, like Piccolo can't sense God Ki. We can assume that he just lost that power, but some of them just annoy me, like more than ever. Like, I don't think it's plot holes that annoy me, it's just stuff that doesn't get explained in the TV show, and I think Mark sort of tackled this a little bit, like the Pilaf gang, not... there's no explanation about the age and how they are younger. They're sort of saying, oh, go watch the movie to find out, because we're never going to frickin' explain it. Even though, Super should be just a continuation of Dragon Ball Kai, and it should explain everything that the movie did. The Super and Battle of Gods should be two separate entities. But back to your question, I think that the plot holes in Resurrection F are so apparent, and they happen so frequently that it does annoy me more than the Battle of Gods plot holes. But, just saying that, I think the Battle of Gods plot holes do annoy me somewhat. So, yeah.
With me, I mean, there are a couple plot holes in there, but I don't really necessarily pay attention to them as much as you guys do. They kind of just fly by my head.
Well, okay, but I will say one thing about the plot holes in Katsu no F, and we were talking about this before we started making the video, was I'm not a fan, I don't think Nathan is either, but I'll let him speak for himself, of actually seeing Frieza train, or knowing that he trained, especially with Tagoma. To me, that's a big coincidence, even for a Dragon Ball continuity problem. The fact that Frieza was able to train with Tagoma, a person that he was able to kill in his first form in the movie, and like brutally wound and almost maim when he was in his first form in the series, and this is right after he gets like revived. This isn't after training. This is the Frieza that we knew back on Namek, the one that Vegeta could beat after like getting beat up by the Ginyu Force, and the one that he has a power level of what, 530,000. It makes no sense. Frieza using Tagoma as a ragdoll every day for 4 months wouldn't make him this strong. I don't care how strong Tagoma gets when he gets hurt and then not. It just makes no sense. Even by power level standards, we could just see Frieza training and know how he trained. Makes no sense to me. Such a plot hole. I don't like it.
The thing is, I think that plot hole stemmed from an attempt to fill in a plot hole of the movie. They tried to justify why Frieza's gone stronger, or try to explain. Maybe they're gonna do it later, who knows? But they try to explain how Frieza's gotten stronger, and by attempting to explain how he became stronger, it left us more clueless and wondering and scratching our heads like, how the hell does he jump from point A to point B by training with someone as weak as that?
Exactly, it does irritate me, and I think Mark and I agree that if they just left it as Frieza trained, because Frieza's a mysterious being, and if he mysteriously trains, that's pretty good writing. Like, I think that's pretty awesome. Because he is a mysterious being, we shouldn't know how he trains, and, you know, just for mystery, like, if something gets revealed and it's supposed to be a big fucking mystery, I think that devalues it, and the whole training sequence just sucks. Like, he, like, punches Tagoma every freaking day and tortures him. How does that make you stronger? Like, it doesn't make any sense, and it just...
Especially a Tagoma that can be taken out by Gohan.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. What were they thinking? And I think that's Toei's part more than Toriyama. We are not sure about the manuscripts that Toriyama sent to Toei and Toyotaro respectively, but I'm sure this was just a Toei thing. Or Toriyama, who knows? Maybe they wanted to explain, how Frieza trained, in Super, kind of like the Vegeta Battle Armor thing, how he got that. But it's not executed well at all, and I'd rather be a mystery than it to, suck.
And I also say this, a lot of people were hyped about Ginyu coming back, and I just knew that was going to be worthless. And the fact that, and this is actually a spoiler warning, not that we have gotten to that point yet, but in the newest episode, Vegeta just blows Ginyu away. And I just absolutely hate that, because it's just another punch in the nuts about how terrible this Fukatsu no F arc has been, because everything new we've gotten has been taken care of and dealt with so simply. It's made no changes to the overall story, and I hate how people are talking about how Tagoma or Ginyu being back is just making it cool. All the fan service that Tagoma got for one scene where he ripped Piccolo's arm off, and that's not even hard to do. Everybody in Dragon Ball Z ripped a freaking Namekian's arm off. Even Piccolo in Dragon Ball just it's like...
Yeah. It's really, it just sucks, man. Yeah, I definitely agree.
Here's the thing where I disagree, where I'm on the side where I appreciate the reintroduction of Ginyu, knowing that he's going to be blown away by Vegeta straight away, because Ginyu should not be a problem. Well, of course, in terms of the Frieza forces being a problem in the first place, it shouldn't have been a problem, but Ginyu, the way he was disposed of by Vegeta, once again, Vegeta looked absolutely cool doing it. He got a kill, and Frieza's he's like, oh, what's going on here? And of course, we've watched the movie and we kind of know what's going to happen, but it's going to happen in 2016, so it really doesn't count. But Frieza is going to be surprised when he sees Vegeta's new form. He knows Vegeta has gone far stronger in the way he disposes Ginyu, so in that sense, we knew that Ginyu was always around. He was like a lingering thingy, like a frog. But I thought that's going to be kept as a joke, a running joke, but him actually being reintroduced and him coming back. However, I cannot excuse how he came back with his complete massive plot hole line of him using the change, the chant to come back. That's, in that sense, I guess plot hole wise, I can't stand it, but him coming back, I loved it. I'm not ashamed.
It's kind of a hard thing to sort of bring up. It's sort of like, I love the concept of Ginyu coming back, and Mark, I think, will completely agree. It's just, it has to create a freaking plot hole. It's cool that Ginyu's back. The concept is cool. Little fan servicey, yeah, but it's cool. But, how we have to get through a plot hole that kind of ruins the whole change technique, and then he gets, just wrecked by Vegeta in one shot. He doesn't even get time to even shine. That's bullshit, I reckon.
Like you guys were talking about, Frieza just basically abusing Tagoma. I thought that was really stupid. I mean, I don't like Tagoma. I think Tagoma's a crappy character or whatever, but the thing is that I'm not sure if this point has been taken out or a plot hole. I mean, this is connected to Dragon Ball Z, but if you guys remember, I think Mark made this plot hole, and, well, he didn't make the plot hole, but he made the idea. Here's the thing. I'm sorry, by the way. And the thing is that in Dragon Ball Super, Ginyu is able to easily control Tagoma's body, right? But when Ginyu takes control of Goku back in Dragon Ball Z, he has such a hard time, controlling him and all that.
Yeah, that really doesn't make any sense.
People discuss that a lot. I'm just gonna put it out there that Mike from Laughingstock did this, and he said that his idea was that it's like Tagoma isn't a fighter, he's just like a tank, and Ginyu's a fighter. So as long as he has Tagoma's like really strong body, he can use his fighting techniques to fight as well. That's why he can use Tagoma better, because Goku's all technique, and Goku's all technique, and none of it's like natural to his own body. He's kind of steals everyone's technique. So that's why that makes sense. I'm not really mad about that. What I will say I'm mad about is the fact that, like, why bring back Ginyu when you're just gonna have Vegeta kill him? To me, that feels so Dragon Ball Z, and I thought we were past that.
Fan service.
It's not fan service. It's a way to write off Vegeta not getting the kill. And my thought process and my prediction on this was always gonna be Frieza kills Tagoma. Because why? Because why not? And I have to say this in terms of wasting my fucking time. In terms of Fukkatsu no F. I predicted back in September, like early October or something, that Frieza was gonna kill Gohan. And lo and behold, Frieza kills Piccolo, which makes no fucking sense. It doesn't make any sense. It's the third time in a series where they killed Piccolo, and only one of them made sense and was emotionally gratifying. This is stupid. It's like, I'm sorry, I'm getting so emotional about this.
GT Piccolo just disappears.
Yeah, no, he's just like, I'm gonna sacrifice myself. I'm gonna say this, GT's handling of Piccolo's death was far more emotionally satisfying than Super's. It makes no sense. It's so stupid. Especially when Super, for the entire run of the entire series, has been leading up to the foreshadowing of Gohan dying. I made a video about this. I'll link it in here so I don't have to go about this already. But it makes me so mad. And that's why Ginyu made sense to me. That's why Ginyu made sense bringing him back, because Ginyu is an established character from Z. It's someone that we have an emotional connection to. It's someone that we think is funny. He's meant for a joke, and that's why they're bringing back Frieza, who's a brutal freaking emperor, the one we know in Dragon Ball Z, who's like, I've changed, I've grown stronger, I'm on a whole nother level, I need to kill the Saiyans and I need to conquer the universe because that's who I am, that's my goal, I'm way more focused now, I'm not gonna fail this time. Like, they should have had Tagoma beat the hell out of the Z Fighters, Ginyu change with Tagoma, and then Ginyu go, Frieza, it's me, I'm Ginyu, ha ha ha, and he's just like, no, fuck that, you're like, no, you're a relic, I don't need you anymore, and you took my only freaking person that I like, because I spent 4 months training the asshole, and he thinks exactly like me, to the point where he's gonna kill his own friends, because he knows me, he's gonna be my right-hand man, you stole his body, I freaking hate you, I'd kill you, and they're like, oh shit, Frieza's back, like he killed Ginyu, and that's emotionally satisfying, but nothing in this freaking arc has been satisfying in the least. I'm sorry.
I think the only reason why Vegeta kills Ginyu is that, it's just compensating for Frieza, killing Vegeta. I think it's just compensating for the fact that Vegeta's not going to kill Frieza, and Goku is. So I think Vegeta killing Ginyu is just sort of fan service for Vegeta and saying, oh, Vegeta killed someone in this arc, which is bullshit, but I think we've beaten this horse to death. I think we should maybe move on.
I'd like to say that this arc was... I mean, I know... Is it finished yet? Not
no,
completely,
episode
right?
27 it finishes.
Alright. It's a waste of time. I don't think I need to see it. Unless they change something up, saying, like, Vegeta kills Frieza, which I doubt they're gonna do. It's a waste of time for me, overall. I hate it. I want to burn it.
I guess I'll chime in and say that yes, also I regard this as a waste of time of 2015 so far. I don't see the payoff of this arc. I don't see it being drastically different. I just think of it as being trying too hard to attempt to try something different, but end of the day it's going to be the same. So yes, a waste of time.
And as Nathan said, I think right now we're all going to move on to the shining beacon of hope that has been our 2015 Dragon Ball Super stuff, and that's the Toritaro manga. I'm just actually going to throw this. Dimzy, would you continue if you have anything to say about that?
Continue about the manga.
We're moving on to the manga.
Yeah, of course, I can talk about the manga far more than the anime in terms of the pacing, which made sense. And look, even though I don't know of how many of you guys read manga here, but I read One Piece, and I read a few other ones, even Fairy Tail. I know that's crap manga, but still, basically, I'm used to reading manga on a weekly basis, and this one comes out once a month, like Attack on Titan. And just like Attack on Titan, no, way better than Attack on Titan, the amount of information being depicted in these scans is mind-boggling, and it's really gratifying. I read it, every panel makes sense, every panel has a use, where you watch the anime and minutes go by and you're thinking, oh, what's going on here? In the manga panel, it's just so worth it. Now, initially, and this idea I first heard it from Thundershot69. He said, and I also agreed with him, I thought we were gonna have 4 episodes of Super and then one manga chapter which is going to basically sum up the whole those 4 episodes. But what the manga did, and what I agree, and what I think the anime should have done, which someone can go into detail later, is they skipped the resurrection of F Arc. Why? Because Toyotaro, he also done the manga for the actual resurrection of F movie when the movie came out. Not only that, the time between Super starting and the movie airing in Japan and the movie airing in the US was far too short. And I guess that's the point I'll say later, where I think we were maybe exhausted, and the manga, it wasn't exhausting. It gave us the right amount of information in the right amount of it compressed it in such a way in 17 pages. It was absolutely perfect. For me, the manga was the absolute shining hope, and it truly did make Dragon Ball Super worth reading. If anyone wants to say more about the manga, be my guest.
Yeah, I think the pacing of the manga is fantastic, and it really captures Super in such a short period of time. And like at the end of the day, it's a spin-off, it's a promotional tool pretty much for the anime, and it does it really well. I really like how Toyotaro is cutting corners. He's getting all the information out, and it's drawn fantastic, and it's just perfectly paced. And I do agree with you, Dimzy. The Universe 6 arc stuff is great, very promising so far. The Resurrection F one-shot that Toyotaro did early in the year, fantastic, I loved it. Really got straight into the action, and kind of like the movie. I like how the manga sort of is connected, you go the Dragon Ball Super, and then you go the Resurrection F one-shot, and then you go back to Super. It's just fantastic, perfectly executed.
I kind of flew off the handle back there a little bit, but I actually think that the manga, to me, has been so fun recently, and I guess what has been the last 3 chapters, to me, going forward, feels like such a shining beacon of hope of what Dragon Ball Super will hopefully become in 2016. The point about this video is, did it waste our time in 2015? And we're all a bit mixed on that, one way or another, and we'll get to that. But the manga being a promotional tool is actually kind of different, because usually animes are promotional tools for the manga, but this is a little kind of reversed. But what they have actually shown us over the last couple of months in the manga has been so great. I completely agree with both of you in terms of the pacing or whatnot. I wish it was a little slower. I wish it was a little bit more dense. Like if that was like a 40-page novel, like a 40-page one or something like that, or even longer, would have been great. Would have been well worth it. But what we get now, and how much information is just being thrown at us every month, the fact that we get all this stuff that we can talk about. I'm sure the fans keeping up with it are like, holy crap, I can't wait to get to this. And 2016, hopefully, just looking at the manga and the roadmap to where Dragon Ball Super is going to get to eventually is just so awesome to me. I cannot wait. Wind?
Okay, so, I don't read the Super manga like that, but I still have read a couple of chapters. One minute I'll be reading it, next minute I won't be. And I wound up reading the latest one, and I have to say that I prefer this, obviously, over Fukatsu no F, because this really offers content. And like someone said, I think it was Nathan or Mark or Dimzy, I'm not even sure. They said it was a promotional tool, and I think that is what it technically is. It's a teaser. It's building us up to the Universe 6 arc. which is pretty cool. I like that they revealed the Team Champa group, and I thought that was awesome. And I thought that's like what I wanted from Dragon Ball Super, to be honest. I really do like it. I don't think it's a waste of time. I think you guys can drop Resurrection of F and read this. But then again, we are talking to the casual viewer, so you know.
Yeah, who are probably not going to read the manga. I'll pose one question. Has the success of the manga, or the manga skipping the Resurrection of F arc, detracted and made us look more critically at the actual anime? Do you think, because it's supposed to be an adaptation of the anime, but because it's so far ahead, and I don't know, has it made us look down on the anime?
I think it's not really an adaptation. I think it's well, I mean, it is to a certain extent, but it's also just, you know, like Toriyama gives his manuscripts. It's pretty much an adaptation, a version of Toriyama's vision of what these events should be, you know, from Beerus to Universe 6. So I think that it's more a promotional tool than anything, like sort of a spin-off of Dragon Ball Super anime, more than an adaptation of it, because it's like pretty different if you contrast it, you know. So yeah,
I agree, but I think the question is it distracting us? Distracting us in terms of like the people who are following it, and we are talking about the fans and us, and we're a little bit more critical, I'm sure. But is it distracting us from what's actually going on in the Fukkatsu no F arc and making us kind of annoyed that we have to sit here and watch it? And I think the answer to that is a resounding yes. I think because this arc in Dragon Ball Super that it's on right now has been so underwhelming, and it has been, and so almost infuriating at times for a critical fan who can talk about, like, why shouldn't Dende be able to see them from the lookout when most people wouldn't care, to like a more casual fan, I'm sure, goes, why aren't Goten and Trunks helping? I mean, they're still strong even when they're not fused. I think a lot of things is like, it's so bad, and seeing what's to come is making me so impatient with the episodes that we're getting. I'm sure it's having an effect. Is that the only factor? Absolutely not. But is it a factor? Absolutely yes. So I think we're gonna move on to our one of our last points here. Guys, would you tell me why you think that Dragon Ball Super in 2015 has been worth our time? What's been the best thing? What is something that's really become a big point of this that you think has been like well worth watching this and discussing this, and with anything like that? I'm gonna start with Nathan.
I think the biggest problem of has Super wasted our time is obviously the retelling, because a casual fan who watched both the movies will obviously think, oh, this is just, you know, the movies but with, you know, worse animation, which is a fair point, I do agree, but if you look closer at it, I believe you'll find a more rounded series with, you know, more explanations on things. At least to me, it's not a waste of time. I think some parts are, obviously, in Resurrection F, obviously, especially. But yeah, like, if you're asking me, I think the best answer I can give is immersing yourself in the events of Dragon Ball Super, like Beerus, Champa, and Golden Frieza. I think, you know, it has wasted our time because there's so many versions to watch the series, but that's a blessing in disguise, because Battle of Gods, Resurrection F, and the Champa arc, you know, they have 3 different versions to, you know, watch and view, which I think it's the whole beauty of it. I don't think it's wasting your time per se. I think it's just immersing yourself, and if you want to get a richer experience with these events, you know, yeah, go watch every version. So to conclude, I don't think it's a waste of time for us, but, you know, someone who's more casual, I think watching or viewing the same version, like of this, like the 3 versions of the same events, could be a waste of time to them. It just depends on what sort of fan you are.
So here's what I think. I think that it wasn't a waste of time for me, but I'm kind of mixed. So the thing is, Battle Gods wasn't a waste. Revival F, it was. Manga, it wasn't. And for me, I'm mixed with it, like, honestly. And since we are technically speaking from the casual viewer point of view, because that's who we're supposed to be, like, you know, attracting to or whatever, What I want to say is that I think that it's supposed to still relate to that original demographic that got us as children. Because when we were children and whenever we started watching Dragon Ball Z, I think that's what originally attracted us, like fight scenes and all of that. And I think Super, the reason why it's so lighthearted now is because censorship and stuff, and I guess Akira Toriyama or whoever's like behind the whole censorship values and all that. I think they know that children used to watch this, so I guess they decided to censor it and all that. But here's the thing, that's not the point. I keep going off topic, but casual point of view, this year, I think that it was a waste of time for the casual viewers, honestly, sadly. But I mean, I enjoyed Super this year, and I can't wait to see the content that they bring out next year in 2016. So, Dimzy?
Yeah, just like you, I am equally as split in by the middle. For example, Dragon Ball Super is a waste of time because the fan would be, he probably was alienated by the rumors. These are people who maybe haven't even started Dragon Ball Super, or who are watching Dragon Ball Super without being as critical. They may have been alienated by episode 5 or the repetition. They're like, we've seen this before in the Battle of Cold Arc, and I assume, and I've spoken to quite a few people, they are more than happy to just resume the series at the Universe 6 arc or when the Resurrection F arc wraps up, because they're saying there's nothing new, and they're just waiting for the whole dub to come out. But on the other hand, I'll say that Dragon Ball Super is not a waste of time because it reeled in the casual hardcore fans and it exposed them to the subbed side. And I won't dwell into that because there's an excellent video by Real to Real and D3DBZ HD, which you could check on his channel, and maybe Real to Real can even tell you about his experiences about being reeled in, pun, do you see the pun there? I should be editorial, but being reeled into this new outlook and new view of the subbed genre, the subbed side of anime. And if I were to move on, and I would say that Dragon Ball Super, it made people who watched the sub side, and it gave them that new integrity and appreciation for the actual series. But it is a waste of time for me because there is far too much missed opportunities and convoluted pacing. But then again, it's not a waste of time because I'm a greedy person and I'm always grateful for any Dragon Ball content, no matter how crappy it is, no matter how underrated it is in terms of Dragon Ball GT. Also, they did plant a few seeds, such as the Namekian Book of Legends. There's a few things which I am waiting for the payoff later on. So, the final point, I know I've been going on for a bit, is that I think a lot of the fans, especially in from the West, they're suffering from exhaustion. I like my tongue. Basically, look at all the things that have come out in 2015. We had Resurrection of F coming out on 30th of March, and the movie came out on the 5th of August 2015. And this was a quarter of the way through Dragon Ball Super, which was announced and released in July 2015. And they were retellings. We had Xenoverse, we had the manga, we had the series, we also were on the backdrop of the movies. We were exhausted. So what I would suggest, and I'll conclude by saying, it is a waste of time because they could have held off and posted and released Dragon Ball Super in 2016, giving us enough time to soak in all the great content that came out throughout 2015 and anticipate and justify our anticipation during 2016. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say.
Yes, I do have a couple points to make there. For me personally, just as an individual and everything, I think one thing that Dragon Ball Super has really done for me, I've made 2 videos on this so far. One is, I've explained in the past why I don't like watching sub-content. It deals a lot with my site, but Dragon Ball Super to me has really introduced and reintroduced the idea of really appreciating anime, and not just appreciating anime, but appreciating the subbed version, the original version, the closest that I can get without actually knowing Japanese to what the original creators intended, and the beauty of that, and how different it is, and how just a lot more gratifying it is to see these characters played out the way that they're meant to be seen and heard, and like the things that they actually meant to be they're saying and everything. That is incredibly meaningful to me, and it's made even more so, as we talked about earlier, where Toonami started playing it, at least in the West, in 1998. And I started watching near the beginning. And Dragon Ball Z, for all intents and purposes, introduced me to anime, and the dubbed anime, and something that's been a big part of my life, and probably your life, anybody who's listening to this, their life as well. And almost 20 years later, we have Dragon Ball Super reintroducing anime to me, but not only just in dub format, but sub format, and growing up and learning to appreciate that stuff. So for me, that's a big issue. And if I were to elaborate a little bit more what it kind of means for the community, I think Dragon Ball Super coming out along with Xenoverse and everything that Dimzy was mentioning, and reinvigorating this community, and knowing that you're not alone in liking Dragon Ball and like obsessing about Dragon Ball and everything. Because as growing up, I don't know how many else people know, is that sometimes liking anime is kind of hard, especially in social situations, because there's just so many negative stigmas about it. But now, unlike back then when it was airing on Toonami or however you saw it, now we have the internet and online communities, and it's just so gratifying to go online and hear videos like this one, or any one that these beautiful people do, or Geekdom, Rhyme Style, and everything, and just know how big your community is and how many people are out there that you can meet and everything. I mean, Dragon Ball Z, these people that I'm doing this with got me back into this, and I'm just so passionate about it today that it's so meaningful to me that Dragon Ball Super is here, and that it's playing, and that we're all just kind of speculating and watching it together. It's like we're kids again, but now we don't have to go to school and be that one kid who likes anime. We can go online afterwards, and we can talk to our friends that we've made in other countries, like with Nathan being Australia, and Dimzy, you're in the UK, I'm in the West. Wind, where are you from?
I'm in the West too.
All right, yeah, like these guys are nowhere near me, and we're talking about this. We're talking across the world about something that we all really love, and how Dragon Ball Super has brought us so many people together in their fandoms. And I'm just gonna end it by saying that I think those are really important reasons, and the fact that, be it exhaustion or something, or continuity problems or anything, retelling movie stories, no matter what, to me, I will always be kind of split on whether it's worth it or not, but I'll take the good over the bad, and I think Dragon Ball Super is definitely worth it in that opinion. Anybody have anything else to say?
I would have something quick to say. Mark, was it worth it in 2015? I know you went on about how it's worth it for it to come by, but was it worth it in 2015?
Oh, no, yeah, I got a little too deep there, but yeah, I agree. That was the real question. No, yeah, like in that sense, it's not, and in that sense, it's not worth it. But I think it's not worth it in 2015. Like I've said before in this video, Dragon Ball Super in 2015 is a waste of my time to the largest degree. But I think when everything is said and done, I can't walk away hating the series or feeling that the series wasted my time. When I go back and rewatch this stuff, after probably rewatching Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, or Kai, because Nathan wants me to watch Kai, I think I'm going to enjoy it after sitting on it for a couple years, and then, you know what, I need to go watch like 500 episodes of Dragon Ball just to kind of relive Dragon Ball right now.
Yeah, and that's the magic with like Dragon Ball and all these different shows like Star Wars and stuff. Like, just to get off topic, like, it's fantastic that we can go back and watch these like series or movies and stuff and still hold up. I think that's the beauty of today, and these franchises are still pumping out stuff, and that's fantastic. But what are you going to say, man?
Oh no, I'm just saying, in terms of, I guess the real answer here is, in terms of 2015, everything that we got was a waste of time, a complete waste of time. But And when put it with the whole, no matter how Super turns out after this arc or in 2016, or no matter how long Super even goes, the experience as a whole will be worth it. And watching those episodes later down the line, when everything else is finished and you have the whole picture in front of you, is well worth it. But these last 6 months, in terms of the content we've gotten, is not worth it. So yeah, I think that's everything. We've been going on for a while now. I do hope that everyone enjoyed this video. If you even made it this far, congratulations. We all really appreciate it. I'm going to sign off. Definitely before I go, I want everyone to know that if you watch this video, even if you watch like 5 minutes of it, please let us know in the comment section below. Tell us what you liked about Dragon Ball Super. Tell us if Dragon Ball Super was worth your time in 2015. I'm going to put the description for all these guys below. They are really good channels. Like if you want to know more about Dragon Ball content, if you want a lot of really good discussion videos, or just news in general, or something like that, anything like that, just go subscribe to them. If you're subscribed to me, go subscribe to these guys, because these guys have really awesome channels too. And we're all just gonna cower in a corner or whatever, cry in a corner about 2015, but Dragon Ball Super was worth it in my opinion. As a whole, 2015, But anyway, have a nice day everyone. It's been lovely.